Well, hey guys, Ron White here, America's Memory. Welcome to my shower. My shower curtain is a map of the world. I went to San Diego for a business trip, and whenever I was there, the USS Midway. Sometimes in these American Memories videos, you'll see me wearing this hat, and it says the USS Ronald Reagan CVN 76. I was never on the Reagan, but I do like this hat, and I was in the Navy. Some interesting facts about the Midway. The name of it is the USS Midway CV-41. CV stands for aircraft carrier. On my hat here, the Reagan, it says CVN. So CV is an aircraft carrier and N means nuclear. If you see a CV, you know it's an aircraft carrier but not a nuclear one. And then this is the CVN is a nuclear aircraft carrier. The 76 on the Reagan means it was the 76th aircraft carrier created, and the 41 in the USS Midway means it was the 41st aircraft carrier. So the USS Midway, it was active during Vietnam and in Operation Desert Storm. The aircraft carrier was launched in 1945. There are a lot of interesting facts about this USS Midway and a lot of interesting history. One I want to point out in particular because it was an incident that occurred that really stood out to me. It was April of 1975, and a South Vietnamese Air Force major got in a two-seat Cessna with his wife and his 5 children, and he was fleeing Vietnam. He set out not knowing if there was an aircraft carrier going to be out there whenever he ran out of gas. He was going out there on faith. As he left Vietnam, he evaded enemy fire, and then for his good fortune, he did see the USS Midway. The South Vietnamese major made 3 passes over the ship, very low flying, and on the 3rd low flying pass, he was able to drop down a note, and that note said, "I'm a South Vietnamese Air Force major. I'm fleeing Vietnam. I have my wife and my 5 kids in this plane. Please save us. Please help." And the note said that you have some helicopters on the deck. If you can move those over to the side, I'll be able to land. At that point, every available seaman on the USS Midway reported to the deck to volunteer to help. Any helicopter that could not be moved quickly and easily was pushed overboard. Rear Admiral Chambers ordered that $10 million in Huey helicopters be pushed over into the ocean so this South Vietnamese major and his wife and 5 kids could live. They did that. They pushed the aircraft over into the ocean. The Vietnamese major landed the plane. The crew erupted in applause. The major was congratulated on his bravery for evading enemy fire and his risk-taking and heading out to sea, not knowing if there's going to be an aircraft carrier out there. The crew of the USS Midway was so impressed with this major and his bravery and his heroism that they created a collection, a fund to help him get started in his new life. And I love that story because that story really is at the heart of the United States Navy. They're out there to keep the world safe and protect the innocent. And 5 little children in a 2-plane Cessna are the innocent. And it's definitely, it's what the Navy is all about. $10 million in helicopters is nothing. I think you're going to be impressed with this ship. Take a look at my trip. As we enter the enlisted sailors' bunks, on your left you're going to see a pea coat, which is the jacket, and this jacket has a crow on it. The crow represents he is a petty officer, and the 2 stripes represent he's a petty officer 2nd class, which is an E5, equivalent to an Army sergeant. Now this is the store where sailors could buy things to make life a little bit more pleasant, videos and that kind of thing. This machinist made sign on the wall is a job. In the Navy, they call your job your rate. In the Army, it's MOS. Here's the bunks. You got 3 on a side, 6 bunks total in this area for the enlisted sailors. Each of these chains holds a 40,000-pound anchor. Wow, 40,000 pounds.
This is the junior officers' quarters. It's significantly more room than the enlisted. The most junior officer would sleep up here closest to the door, and more senior junior officers would be further away from the door. We have some hats here and covers, you should say, and then the bunks. Significantly more room. You got where this would be 3 enlisted. There's only 2 junior officer bunks here, so. We're now walking down the hallway heading to the pilot ready room. The ready room is where the pilots would go to get ready for their missions and get their briefings and all the information that they need to be successful before a flight mission. The helicopter ready room. XO, CO. You know what? I think I'm going to sit in the CO spot. Didn't get a chance to sit in the CO's chair when I was in Kabul. Here I am in the ready room for the helicopter ready room on the USS Midway. This is where the helicopter pilots would go to get briefed for their mission. They'd get intelligence. They'd get briefed on everything that they needed to know to make their mission successful. And up in front of the room, they'd have a whiteboard up here with all the details of the crew, the fuel loads, the ordnances, and their missions. And then, well, now we're going down into the brig. This is the ship's jail. It's reserved for serious offenses, and only a ship's captain would have the authority to send someone to the brig. When they're down here, they'll get bread and water and a visit by a chaplain to check in on them, see if they're okay, but no luxuries. Here you go. Here's a man who restrained. This guy doesn't look too happy to be in the brig. Hey buddy, cheer up. You'll be out of here in a few days. You can get 5 guys in this room, and this looks like your typical jail cell at any prison in the United States, I think. Well, I came here to give a short tour for America's memory, and it ended up behind bars in the brig. The engine room is the command center for the engines, where they drive the ship, where they provide electricity and fresh water and steam for the catapults.
And the steam is at 600 pounds of pressure at 850 degrees. And what that means to you is that the steam is an invisible gas and contains no moisture. It is absolutely dry. It's far different than the steam that you use normally. And also, these are not steering wheels. No way, shape, or form are they steering wheels. As you can see, this one says a head on it, and this one says a stern. What they are steam valves to control the speed and direction of rotation of number 3 propeller only. This whole engine room exists solely for number 3 propeller. I'm going to get my orders from the officer of the deck here, and over here he's going to give me the exact number of revolutions per minute that he wants the propeller to turn.
This helicopter is called a Sea King and was used for anti-submarine warfare. Here you have the S-3 Viking, also used in submarine warfare. This is an A-1 Skyraider. It was a single-seat attack plane, first used in 1946, and we're walking up on a C-1 Trader. It was a cargo transport plane. And this is an A-6 Intruder. That most distinctive feature sticking out at the nose there is it's used for electronics warfare. This actually replaced the A-1 Skyraider that was introduced in 1946. And here we have an A-7 Corsair. And this former aviator here is explaining how a Corsair would use the catapult to take off the ship. Walking up now on an E-2C Hawkeye. That big white dish on the top of the plane, yeah, that stays there when it's flying. It is a radar. This is a radar airplane.
What your goal is to keep this meatball, this amber light, even with these green datum lights. You do that by adding or reducing power. If you're a little high, you pull power off. A little low, you add power. What you're trying to avoid is this. This is a very low approach. If you continue that approach, one or two things is going to happen. Number one, you're going to be swimming because you hit the wake. Or number two, you're going to change the paint on the stern as you slam into it. Neither case is good.
Now for the memory training takeaways. Memory training takeaway number one. I want you to visualize a four-wheeler riding across the ship. This four-wheeler reminds us of the number 4. There was over 4,000 sailors and enlisted on this ship. A four-wheeler to remind us of 4,000. Takeaway number 2. I want you to visualize a vet, like an animal vet on the deck of the ship, and that reminds you that it did service in the Vietnam War. So a vet for Vietnam. I also want you to visualize a desert on the deck because it did service in Desert Storm, Operation Desert Storm. A vet for Vietnam and a desert for Operation Desert Storm. Takeaway number 3. In the ship's store, imagine the only thing they sell is Colt 45s. Colt 45s, to remind you, 1945 is when this ship was first launched. I'm walking across the flight deck of the USS Midway. My name's Ron White, and I am America's memory.